Good start. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the licensing panel. My name is Councillor David Curtis, and I'm chairing the meeting this morning. Also with me are Olivia Quinn from Democratic Services, and I'll invite the rest of the panel and our supporting officers to introduce themselves.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Ian Shenton.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Jenny Fradgley.
Good morning, I'm Nisha Lowry, solicitor from Legal Services.
Good morning, Vicky Goodman, senior licensing officer for the District Council.
Thank you all very much. Olivia, do we have any apologies for absence?
No, Chair.
And does any of the committee members have any disclosures of interest in relation to the item? No. No? A street trading consent currently granted to Mr. Turgot Durman on Wharf Street in Stratford-upon-Avon. Vicky, would you like to talk us through this? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good morning, panel. So you are here to consider the suitability of a street trading consent currently granted to Mr. Turgot Durman. Mr. Durman is here today representing himself and his business, Best Kebabs and Burgers. Mr. Durman has an interpreter with him today who is asked to be called by the name of Serg. Yeah. The street trading consent currently in place is for him to trade from his catering unit on Wharf Road in Stratford-upon-Avon 7 days a week from 5 p.m. until 11 p.m. at night. On page 5 of this report, the officer has identified where Mr. Durman is currently permitted to trade from. Effectively, this is on-street parking accessible to anyone. We're not able to reserve places, and this would have been the place where Mr. Durman initially applied to trade. We don't have specific pictures. It is for the applicant to tell us where they want to trade from. Page 6 of the report shows a street view of this location, and a full copy of the consent issued to Mr. Durman is shown on pages 27 and 28 of the report. Mr. Durman has benefited from this consent in this location since December 2021 without complaint until the summer of last year. So if I just go through the issues and the reason that we're here. So on the 20th of July, a complaint was received from a store on Wharf Road stating that Mr. Durman's training unit was regularly parking in a manner which partially blocked their entrance. If you're familiar with Wharf Road, the entrance that we're talking about is the one to Sofas, Beds and Beyond. The initial inquiry and communication with the complainant was dealt with by myself and can be found on pages 9 and 10 of the report. But the query was whether the council have issued consent for this particular catering van. And there was mention of the vehicle overhanging the entrance to the business, stating that the van normally arrived about 3:30, 4 p.m. every day to trade, which was causing an obstruction and having an impact on their business. I responded to say that if the trader was not in the licensed area, we would seek to remind him initially, and that's in line with our sort of enforcement protocol. The business came back to provide further information on the exact location that the catering unit was parking, and they indicated that this was sort of 9 times out of 10, and reiterated the fact that it was causing issues and blocking the entrance, which they needed clear for deliveries from large lorries. So on the 27th and the 31st of July, licensing officers visited the catering unit in the evening. That was with a view to speak to Mr. Durman and to remind him of the terms of his consent. On these occasions, the vehicle was parked correctly, and advice was given to the person operating the unit. It wasn't Mr. Durman on those 2 occasions. He wasn't there, but suitable advice was given in that regard. On the 2nd of August, a further complaint came in, which repeated the initial complaint. in that the catering unit was parking in a manner that overhung their entrance. On the 9th of August, Mr Dooman was issued with a formal warning via email, and a copy of this warning can be found on page 15 of the report. Mr Dooman responded to say that cars were already parked in that position, which was the reason for him having to find somewhere else to park. At this point, it was explained to Mr Dooman that this is his consent, that as his consent was on the highway, it is up to him to secure that space or to, to be parked in the correct space. On the 13th and 14th of November, an officer photographed the catering unit parked again off the road in the entrance to the business, which is contrary to his consent to trade. The position in which he was parked can be found on page 20. Mr Dooman was again emailed on the 13th of December with these photographs and advised that his street trading consent was at risk and could be removed if he continued to trade in an area that he did not have permission to do so. In response to this communication, Mr Dooman informed the officer that he had permission from the manager of the Magnet business to park from their car park. Mr Dooman was given advice to the effect that if that was the case and he wished to change the terms of his consent, he could do so by applying for a new consent, which we would do so willingly. We would just need to carry out a 28-day consultation period and need written proof that permission had been given to trade from there. We didn't get that, sadly, and instead an application to renew his existing licence was received on the 17th of December. So due to the complaints and the non-compliance of his current consent, it was decided that this matter be referred to yourselves for a decision. As such, a temporary consent has been issued for the consent today. Since writing the report, no further complaints have been received, but unfortunately an officer did notice that on the 16th of February, so the weekend just gone, that Mr Dooman was again not parked in the correct position and was parked in that of the car park of the Magnet business. A further statement and photo has been provided in addition to the report that was initially written. To conclude, the licensing authority were made aware that Mr Dooman was not trading in accordance with his street trading consent in July of last year, and the complaint has referenced obstruction to their entrance. There's a knock-on effect of him parking there in that customers also then will park relatively near to the unit to visit and purchase goods from him. There is clear signage at this location advising that no parking or waiting should take place and that wheel clamping is an operation. It appears that Mr Dooman has ignored this signage. Despite warnings from the licensing authority since July, Mr Dooman has continued to trade outside the terms of his consent. And as I said, further warnings were issued in August and December of last year. Due to the lack of compliance with his current street trading consent, we're asking you today to make a decision on whether we continue to license him in this location. And it's for you to sort of consider the evidence that we've put before you today. You have the following options. You can choose to grant a continuation of the street trading consent for up to a maximum of 1 year from the 19th of December. You can grant it, but you can vary it or add conditions if you wish. Again, that's for a year from the 19th of December, or you can choose to refuse the consent today. That is all, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you very much, Vicky. That's a really helpful summary. I've just got a couple of questions, if I can, and other panel members may have as well. So I think from what you said, if I understand that Mr Dooman was given a license, a street trading license from 2021. Was it December 2021?
That's correct, yes.
And until last July, there were no complaints.
Correct,
That's correct.
yeah.
And also the hours which Mr Dooman is licensed to trade in are from 5 o'clock in the afternoon until 11 o'clock in the evening. Correct?
That is correct, yes.
But it would appear that also, as well as the parking issue, is there clear evidence that Mr. Dooman was trading before 5 o'clock or after 11 o'clock?
So the initial complaint alleged that he was arriving at 3:34. We don't have evidence to suggest that he has traded before 5. So it's, yeah, I'm not able to sort of confirm in that regard.
If Mr. Dooman is allowed, licensed to trade from 5 p.m, he can actually park his van in that space as a parking space without trading, so that he can get there earlier in order to secure that space for legal trading.
Yes, that would be acceptable and probably necessary because he's going to have to cook food or, you know, prep in terms of, but from our point of view, the street trading consent, so his ability to trade would be from 5. So yeah, it would be acceptable for him to turn up earlier.
Thanks, Chair. Just thinking about when Mr. Dumont is on the magnet site, are there any exceptions to the consent policy that allows that in terms of distance from the road?
So because the area is accessible to the public, they can freely access it. It still falls within our policy in that he would be captured and require a street trading consent to trade from the magnet car park. If it were an enclosed site where people had to pay to enter, or say he had or had a permanent business there and was paying business rates, he would fall outside of our scope in requiring a street trading consent.
So just to be clear, the fact that even if he gets permission from the owner of that site, he would still fall within the policy anyway, and he would still have to comply.
Absolutely, yes.
Can I just ask a question? Can licensing permission be given for 2 sites for trading on the road where it is at the moment? And if permission is gained from the business, and if, sorry, I'll start again. Is it possible to grant permission for 2 sites for trading, one on the road, as is at the moment, and if there is written permission gained from the business that the van can be parked there for trading between specified hours, possibly with the extra hours that would be needed for getting trading ready in the van, can permission be given for 2 sites so that there's more flexibility in parking the van in the correct place when that road is heavily parked anyway?
Yes, we can issue a license for, or we can consider an application for 2 locations. That's not a problem. I was just trying to find a picture of the current site, because I think it is limited to probably about 5 or 6 cars in that current location. So he does have the ability to park sort of on a certain stretch of Wharf Road, which encompasses, I think, up to about 6 car parking spaces. But yeah, if those car parking spaces are full on his arrival and he can't park, this is where the issue lies, is that, you know, it's now become probably a popular place to park. So there lies the difficulty. But yes, we can consider 2 sites. That's not an issue.
Thanks, Chair. When the consent was originally given for this, was a copy of the consent policy, do you know if a copy of the consent policy was given to the applicant? And since that time, I think I'm correct, and I heard you say that there has been no incidents up until July of last year. So for, if you like, approximately 3 years, it's been Mr. Dumont has complied with that policy. So
yes, we've not the first time that we've started to receive complaints was July last year. And sorry, what was your other question?
The other question was when consent was originally given back in 2021. Was a copy? Do you know whether a copy of the consent policy was attached to or sent to, similar to what we would do with, say, taxi licensing? We do send a policy.
So it's likely that the policy wouldn't be sent with the consent, mainly because the policy is before the application, so the policy encompasses what we would expect from an applicant, but the consent includes conditions, and it includes details of where they're permitted to trade, the times that they're permitted to trade.
Is there a requirement to have that policy put in the van so everybody knows what that policy is, who goes to who goes to the van?
Not the policy, but the consent issued to the trader should be on display on the unit, so that people know that they are licensed by the district council.
Just one final question for me, and I'm not sure whether you can answer this, to be quite honest, but I'll ask, and then you can feel free to tell me no, you can't answer it for one reason or another. Does Mr. Duman have any consents for other vehicles or other areas that you're aware of?
I would need to seek clarification from Mr. Duman, so that's probably a question better directed at him to confirm.
Mr. Dumas or Serge, would you like to make your representations? Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be the interpreter and translate what Mr. Duman's defense and also his concerns. And I'm going to try to explain and also my experience, because I'm not working at the moment, except last couple days. I've been with Mr. Duman last couple months, not every day, but every other day. So I'm going to also share my thoughts and what I saw as eyewitness, and probably it will help you and the licensing officer for renewing the license, or what is the concern and what is the problem in the area. But I am here more for interpreting and to explain what Mr. Duman says, and also I'm taking very seriously on that point. Are you aware to the licensing officer? Are you aware to Mr. Duman's English? Are you aware with? Have you ever spoken to him?
Would you like to answer that question? Should we get?
Okay, what I'm trying to say, I'm taking every email you send, he probably doesn't think he thinks like a junk mail or anything, so because his English is more.
I think in that case, if I would say the responsibility, if an email is sent that the recipient does not understand because English may be his second or his or her second or third language, it is the responsibility of the recipient to either ask for assistance personally through a good officer such as yourselves, or to come back to the district council and ask for further assistance. I think there is a reasonable assumption that if that request for assistance is not made, then the email or any other correspondence is understood.
Sorry, also, just as you've attended today, I would have hoped that he would have raised it a lot earlier, because the consent's been in place since 2021. So if he's receiving information that he's not understanding, it is relevant to his trading, and therefore it's important that he made contact through somebody like yourself as soon as those issues arose.
Okay, thanks for that. Just bear in mind, maybe from now on, I will tell him to take it to consideration and make sure every email been read very carefully. But I'm going to ask him everything, the licensing officer's concerns and everything. So I'm going to explain to him, and then I will try to tell you exactly what he says. Is that okay? Please. Thank you. Şimdi. Okay, can I explain what his thoughts and... Okay, first of all, Mr. Duman says the licensing, being given, the park is being given, he's having a biggest problem is the moment he moves out there, somebody parks in there. So he came a couple times to the council and explained to say, can we mark it in yellow sign and, yellow marked, so nobody parks there. I think he did come, yeah, couple time. And the magnets manager is the manager. After 6 o'clock, because he realized he's having a struggling because somebody parks there and then he got nowhere to park. So the moment the magnet manager realized by verbal, he asked him kindly, says, why don't you come park it after 6 o'clock, which we close? But after that, Mr. Duman, after that, had I think few months was everything okay. And then the complaints started to be raised. Couple emails, I think he didn't understand. And I know you told me that's his problem, but of course, we all been there, we can make mistakes. And the magnet manager did allow him to park it in the car parks. What is the funny things is, I take that really consideration and very important. I didn't visit him about 8 months last year. I was working. Then I visited him one day. And somebody took my picture. I said to him, somebody picking on you because I only came yesterday. He said, yeah, I know. Look, they sent me an email and you are in the van. I said, after 8 months, it was my first day visiting. And I saw that picture. And I was in the van. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Because I used to have my own takeaway. So I know the job. So what I do, I give him a couple hands and he gave me a burgers and, And I was really shocked. I think eyewitness is funny because I only attempted there after 8 months and somebody's taking my picture. So, and also, like he says, is about 2.5 years, no problem, and all of a sudden his business start to pick up. And
Serge, I hope you don't think I'm being impolite. I think because the application is from Mr. Derman, and it is his application that we are hearing today, I think what would be helpful and what the panel really needs is for you to read a statement on Mr. Derman's behalf. It is his license that we are examining today rather than your experience. And so I think a short statement on Mr. Derman's behalf, please, explaining his position, and then the panel will move to some questions to try and find further clarification. Is that okay, panel?
Yeah.
Okay, what Mr. Dumas says, he goes straight to the point. He says, I'm happy where my place is, but if they mark it with the yellow mark, and maybe to say this is Mr. Dumas, and nobody parks there, then he's very happy where he is, and he won't, even if he's been asked, he doesn't want to move. And that's what, he goes straight to the point, basically. He just says, if we mark there to a yellow mark, nobody parks there, only burger run, we are happy.
And, well, in that case, there is an email from Rachel Gray, licensing officer, referring to that specific point sent on the 1st of August. With reference to the signage for parking you are asking for, you would need to speak to Warwickshire County Council. It is the County Council, and it gives the phone number, that has the responsibility for highways. And Vicky will clarify. Oh, Vicky, yes, would you like to give some clarification here?
What it is, I'm just explaining to him, if you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, so just to confirm, when we issue consents, we are not the landowner, or where we're not the landowner, we have to seek permission from the landowner. So in this case, it would be Warwickshire County Council. So when this consent was initially granted, we would have consulted with them back in 2021. For renewals, we don't tend to do a full consultation because that's already happened. Now, we have, on this occasion, as part of the renewal, sought advice from Warwickshire County Council because they are the owners of the road. And if I could refer you to page 51 of the report, the officer has queried or raised the issues that Mr. Dooman is experiencing with the fact that he can't park as he wishes in this area. And they have confirmed that they're not able to offer sort of exclusive use for that area. It is an area that anybody can park in. I think if it were, say, if there were sort of bays, he could apply simultaneously for a bay suspension, which he would have to pay through Warwickshire County Council. But because it's just off-street parking, there isn't the ability to do that. Unfortunately. The other thing that I just wanted to raise in relation to your question to Mr. Dooman's trading with the District Council, I've just had a little search on our database, and Mr. Dooman has had a number of consents with us, and the earliest that I can find is 2013, which I think was for a location in Walesbourne.
Vicky, can I just ask one bit of clarification? So yes, I've got the letter now from Mr. Elliston at Highways Area Team Manager. Do you know if that correspondence or the content of that has been forwarded to Mr. Dooman? The letter from County. It's on page 51, the very last page in the.
I believe the basis, or what Mr. Ellison has said, has been previously given to Mr. Dooman, but I don't think that we've perhaps confirmed the fact that we've been to County again, but it was contained in this report which was published.
It's implicit in the consent of it. Yeah, fine, thank you. Yes. I think what may be most helpful, I mean, if I'm not, certainly don't want to stop Mr. Dooman presenting anything at all. That's not what this is about. I think what we'll do, with Mr. Dooman's permission, is to move to questions. But if Mr. Dooman wants to give any additional clarification through you, Serge, then please do so. Are you happy with that?
I'm happy, but he's just trying to say one more thing. He's been van trading over 30 years, and he's been working with Oxfordshire and Warwickshire counties on both of them. And then, yeah, more than 20 years with the Warwickshire county, and he never had any problem.
Thank you very much.
So, interestingly, now you've brought that into the equation, have you got any proof to back up what you're saying? Can you show me evidence that you've been trading successfully with both of those authorities as you're relying on it?
He's been trading in Westbourne from 2004. We haven't got this evidence, but eyewitness with the customers comes from Westbourne to him. And I think if you accept eyewitness, I mean, when I saw the customers, and he knows some customers since they were kids, I think your evidence is me. That's only we got now, but he's definitely been van trading no long time. Okay, I'm just interpreting here. Licensing officer Jennings, Mrs. Jennings, or she knows him personally, so.
So, looking at the email trail, Mr. Dooman has responded a couple of times to emails and has said quite clearly that he will stay within the area. So the first question is why he stepped outside the area when he knows he has to be within the area. And the second question is, the second point is that it's been in the emails, it's been quite clear what that area is and that it can't be marked off. So what does Mr. Dooman not understand about that? We've gone over this. He knows where the trading area is. So why is he not complying with that?
I'll ask that to him, please. Now, again, last couple months, I've been unemployed because of January, very quiet, and I was visiting him. I saw he's struggling, and after a couple of email, which I think he thought is just an email warning, it's not very important, he thought, and because of his understanding, and but after he took it serious, he never moved the van, and what he did, he brought his Mrs. car and parked it there, which is, I see it very, very positive and good of him, and he took very serious the emails, and which he doesn't understand, they were very high warning and he can lose his license. He didn't know that. And he parks his Mrs. car all day, and he makes sure this bay, which is been permitted by council, no one parks there. But in the past, yes, by manager, I mean, food businesses, as you understanding, can be like funny because the manager likes his food, but maybe somebody behind that, he doesn't like his food, you know. and the manager likes him, but the staff over there doesn't like him. It's not personal, but some people can be like that, which is I used to
think-
work.
I was just gonna, I've got the email here to Mr. Dooman from Janine Ray, sent on the 17th of December. It's really very clear. It says you have continued to trade illegally. You're only going to have a temporary license, street trading consent, until this date today. If Mr. Dooman has been trading for 20 years or more, I would have thought he would understand the weight of that email. He then replies on the 18th of December that he didn't think it was a big issue, but, and I'm just going to quote, "It won't ever happen again. I'm really sorry. It would never happen again." Yet we have a witness statement showing Mr. Dooman's van again parked incorrectly on Sunday, last Sunday. So it's quite, even being generous, it's quite difficult to reconcile a statement in only December saying this will never happen again, and Mr. Dooman knows that he's coming to this panel today, that he again breaks the license rules 3 days before this. I find that quite baffling, and I think other members of the panel do as well.
Let me explain to him, please, yeah, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Now, I mean, he says the car, he parks there, his Mrs. car, because he just parks there and moves.
With respect, that is not relevant. What we are looking to understand is to approve Mr. Dooman's license or not, how he uses his wife's car or anything else to try and preserve the spot, I don't think is really relevant to. It's interesting, but it,
It's a potential solution.
yes.
But the issue is why it keeps occurring.
Yeah.
Because he's identified a potential solution to securing the spot.
Yeah. Thank you.
I know. Did you want to carry on? I know you got your light on before I ask you a question.
Apologize. I understand. I wanted to explain to him, and then I'll have your question, please, sir, if you don't mind. Okay. He does apologize for that. He says, I understand the licensing and the council authority is not accepting any reason. He says, next time I make sure I push the car and I wouldn't, or maybe I won't trade that day. And if the authority allows him to extra extension with his license, and he will not park anywhere else with any reason, even if he doesn't trade that day.
So, thank you for that. But the fact of the matter is back in December and prior, Mr. Dooman, you've agreed the area that you can park in. You have said you won't do it again, but you continue to do it. And you've been, as the chair has said, you were well aware that this week was the panel hearing, and yet you parked outside of your permission, the consent, and you're asking us yet again, despite the warnings, to accept that it's unfortunate and that it won't happen again. What reassurances can you give this panel that this will not happen again, if any? Because up to now, it feels like, you know, you've answered the emails, said you'll not do it, and gone away. The issue, you've got the solution. The solution is the car in the spot. So what reassurances can you give us?
But I give you guarantee it's not going to repeat again. He says, and that day, he says, when couldn't move the car, so it was easy for him to park there. And he says he's not going to park anywhere else anymore. And because he sees it's very serious, it can cause him to lose his license, so he's going to leave it there. But again, my view as eyewitness, I mean, come on, it's just a one day, and then somebody took a picture.
Sorry, I've got to come back on that. It's not just one day. It's not just one day. This has happened a number of times. You've had warnings. You persist. You've been asked to get to forward the manager's permission, I believe, from one of the letters, at least one email, and you've said you'll do this, or given the impression that you've got the permission. So where is that permission to park on that land? And is there an acceptance that it is more than one day, and you're flouting the consent?
After 17 December, it's a one day. After 17 December, and
Vicky, can I just ask for some clarification? And you explained it very clearly earlier on, and actually it was in response to a question from Councillor Frasley. And sorry, Jennifer, I'm taking your question now, but it's possible for Mr. Duman to apply for a licence or two licences to trade in two separate places. So if he has permission from the manager of Magnet to trade on their forecourt, he would be able to then apply for a licence to trade there, and he would also be able to apply for a licence to continue trading on Bath Road. So that would be the possibility of two spots adjacent to each other to which Mr. Duman could apply. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair. And just to confirm, I think when Mr. Duman expressed that he had consent from the owners of the Magnet business, he was advised that he could at that point seek to apply for a consent for there, which would actually resolve this issue. But he chose not to do that. He renewed his existing consent in the same location.
So, Serge, I don't know if you perhaps explain that to Mr. Duman, that there is a solution, which I'm not going to speak on behalf of the panel, that we will go into a session to deliberate, but it would appear from what our licensing officer is saying is that one potential solution would be that Mr. Duman applies for two street licenses, one to renew the existing licence on Bath Road, and the second to seek to have written permission from the manager of Magnet that he should present as part of a licence application to be able to trade on the forecourt of the Magnet store. Vicky, have I summarised that correctly?
Yes. My only sort of point to add on that would be 2 consents is going to warrant 2 fees. So
Yes.
that might be a bit costly for Mr. Dooman. But if he has permission to trade from the Magnet car park, that would probably be a better position, owing to the fact that customers could also then pull into the car park off the road. You're not obstructing the street.
And you would need written consent from the manager or
Correct. So
responsible
we would just
person.
need a written confirmation from the landowner, which would presumably be Magnet, to say that they are going to give Mr. Dooman permission to trade from there. There was something else that I was going to say, but it has completely gone now.
Serge, would you?
It was just that Mr. Dooman has applied to renew his current consent.
Yes.
So the matter before you today is whether that consent should continue or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just ask how long it would take for a licence to be, from the point of Mr. Dooman applying for a licence, a new licence to trade on the front of Magnet or wherever, to that licence actually being granted? What would be the sort of time span?
The
Roughly.
standard consultation period is 28 days.
28 days.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Serge, would you like to
I'll explain to him if you don't mind. Right?
Vicky, could I ask you one, just on this question of the licence? We've got a further question for you. If Mr. Dooman has got permission from Magnet and can prove he's got permission, can his existing, can the consent that he's got be varied to include that, or is it 2 separate consents? Can we annotate? I'm thinking, is there a solution here where we have one consent, but with the, if you like, the either or site, not both at any one time, an either or?
Yeah, I think there's the ability to encompass the 2 locations.
I think the panel feels we have as much information as we need to go into a private discussion. But I just wonder, Serge, is there, or Mr. Dooman, sorry, I don't want to be impolite, is there a brief final comment, but rather than reiterating what has been previously said, if there's anything else that you would like to add at this stage?
First of all, for Magnet, the manager, he did ask him by writing. He said, not by verbal. If you have a problem, you can park there, because it's a chain nationwide, and the manager hasn't got the authority. It's not franchise, it's a nationwide. So basically, the owner must do it. So he already spoken that, number 1. Number 2, to licensing, my advice to him, yes, there are a couple of places, locations there, but it's no, that's like further discussion maybe. next month. Sometimes maybe he'd locate and then apply for it. And one of them, I advised him, and the next one, he advised me. So, so the magnet looks like as a contract is no chance, because it's a verbal, like, because I think the manager likes his burger or his food, and then he says, okay, you'll be more than welcome, but I can't do it by writing. The next things, yes, I'll ask him the final word, what he's going to say. But my final says he's been a businessman, and I was there, and I think he's fine, and he's take it very serious. He only made one mistake, but let me ask him what he says. I think we wrap everything, and Mr. Duman, as I said, like he's agree with me. From 17 December is only one mistake, and he says, I'm sure they will understand. I think he brings it down, all the complaints. He's happy where he is. He says there is nothing but the second application he's going to look around. One, I advised him, the one maybe he'll decide, but he says, the place I trade, I'm happy if they issue more license. I will make sure I don't bring the subject here. It's the first time he ever been in kind of council court, which is good experience. I mean, which is good for him. So that's all I can say. I mean, the rest is yours.
Love it. Serge, Mr. Duman, thank you very much for your time coming along this morning and answering the questions. Thank you very much indeed. We'll now go into private session, and you'll be notified of a decision within 5 working days? Within 5 working days. Thank you very much.
Well, I thank you. Thanks for listening and having a time for us. I appreciate it for your concerns, and I will raise the concerns and try to make sure. I think he's going to go on a holiday, if I'm not wrong. So that'd be good, 5 days, so he'll be carry on trading. And I'd like to thank you for licensing officer, so raising the concerns. And I really think he's a very good businessman, and I don't think he'll make any mistakes. He'll bring it down to 0. I'd like to thank you for everybody. Thank you.
Is there any urgent business?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.